For generations, official history books have refused to acknowledge a profound truth hidden deep within the Andes. A truth whispered in remote villages, a forbidden memory of towering structures, not on mountain peaks, but far beneath the frigid waves of ancient lakes. This is a story of knowledge locked away, of evidence ignored, challenging everything we thought we knew about human civilization. So sit back, relax, and prepare to question the very foundations of our past. High in the Andes, where the air thins and time seems to stretch endlessly, lies the vast, mysterious Altiplano, a plateau of staggering beauty, home to towering peaks, endless skies, and shimmering, deep blue lakes. It is a place of stark contrasts, where ancient cultures have thrived for millennia, their traditions clinging to the land like mist to the mountains. Yet, within this landscape of enduring human presence lies a secret far older, a riddle etched into the bedrock of history itself. We are told the story of humanity's journey in the Americas began tens of thousands of years ago, with hunter-gatherers slowly spreading across the continents. Complex societies, we are assured, only blossomed much later, long after the last great ice sheets retreated. But what if this widely accepted narrative is incomplete? What if a sophisticated civilization once flourished in this very region, at a time when much of the world was still gripped by ice? Imagine colossal stone cities, intricate networks of buildings, and advanced infrastructure. Now, imagine them not on dry land, but submerged hundreds of feet below the surface of tranquil Andean lakes. This is the tantalizing, deeply unsettling possibility that some researchers, often operating outside the strict confines of mainstream archaeology, have begun to explore. It's a concept that directly contradicts our comfortable understanding of prehistory, pushing the timeline of complex human achievement back into an era deemed impossible for such feats. The very idea presents a puzzle. How could such a civilization exist, let alone vanish so completely, leaving behind only echoes and whispers? The high-altitude lakes of the Andes, particularly Lake Titicaca, are places steeped in myth and legend. For centuries, the indigenous Aymara and Quechua peoples have told stories of submerged cities, of ancient peoples who built beneath the water, or of cataclysms that swallowed their ancestral homes. These are not just fanciful tales passed down by grandmothers. Many of these legends speak with surprising specificity of places and events. Elders from communities around Lake Titicaca, for instance, sometimes recount tales of a vast, forgotten city named Tiwanaku, swallowed by the lake's rising waters during a time of immense change. They speak of intricate roads leading into the depths, of grand temples now hidden from sight, and of powerful beings who once walked among them. These aren't just myths, they are the persistent memory of something profoundly real. The mainstream scientific view, however, largely dismisses such accounts as folklore. Conventional archaeology holds that while ancient cultures certainly existed around these lakes, their most advanced periods came much later, well within the Holocene epoch, long after the last ice age ended around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. According to this established timeline, early human migration into the Americas involved relatively simple hunter-gatherer societies. The development of complex, city-building cultures, with their organized labor and monumental architecture, is placed much, much later, primarily evidenced by sites like Tiwanaku, which dates back only to around 1500 BC. The idea of a massive, pre-ice age city, let alone one now submerged, simply doesn't fit the existing framework. It would require a complete reevaluation of human capabilities and presence on the continent, challenging decades of academic consensus. The resistance to such a notion is strong, rooted in the very structure of scientific paradigms. But there are growing problems with this steadfast dismissal. Subtle, often overlooked, anomalies refuse to be silenced. Divers exploring Lake Titicaca have reported strange, perfectly cut stone blocks at incredible depths, far beyond what could be attributed to natural formations or known historical human activity. Fishermen have snagged their nets on what appear to be submerged walls. And scattered throughout the region, curious artifacts hint at a sophistication that seems out of place for their estimated age. These are not clear-cut archaeological sites, easily excavated and dated. Instead, they are tantalizing glimpses, like fragments of a shattered mirror, reflecting a forgotten reality. They suggest that the traditional narrative, while comfortable, might be critically incomplete. Could these persistent legends, then, be more than just stories? Could they be echoes of actual historical events, preserved through millennia by oral tradition? Some researchers believe these submerged structures and anecdotal accounts point to a lost civilization, one that flourished when the climate of the Altiplano was vastly different, when lake levels were significantly lower, and the landscape supported a much larger population. Theories range from an advanced, unknown culture that predates the very notion of civilization, as we understand it, to the possibility that early humans in the Americas possessed far greater ingenuity and organization than they are currently credited with. What if the cataclysmic end of the last ice age, marked by dramatic climate shifts and rising water levels, didn't just alter the landscape, but also drowned an entire epoch of human history? The implications of such a discovery are immense. It would force us to confront the possibility that humanity's past is far richer, more complex, and perhaps more mysterious than we ever dared to imagine. It would reshape our understanding of when and how complex societies developed, and even challenge our assumptions about the very nature of human progress. The Altiplano, with its silent, deep lakes and whispered legends, may hold the key to unlocking this forbidden knowledge. What secrets truly lie beneath the waves, waiting to be uncovered? What lost civilization, older than the ice itself, might be quietly sleeping, ready to rewrite our history? The past is not always what it seems, and sometimes its most profound truths are found in the most unlikely and forgotten places. As we continue our journey into the unwritten chapters of history, the whispers of an ancient past grow louder, echoing from the high-altitude lakes of the Andes. The evidence for a civilization far older than officially recognized timelines doesn't just rest in ancient texts or local folklore. It presents itself in tangible forms, beneath the very waters that guard its secrets. In the vast, enigmatic expanse of Lake Titicaca, a body of water revered by indigenous cultures, researchers have uncovered tantalizing glimpses of what appear to be ancient structures. Divers and sonar teams, venturing into the frigid depths, have reported discovering features that seem undeniably artificial. Imagine stone terraces, long walls, and even what some describe as a sunken road, all lying many meters below the surface. These are not random rockfalls. They possess a geometric regularity, an alignment, and a scale that hints at deliberate construction. The conventional archaeological view often suggests that any submerged structures in Lake Titicaca would likely belong to known Andean cultures, such as the Tiwanaku or Inca, who built extensive settlements along its shores. These cultures flourished in periods we can confidently date, their construction techniques well understood. But there is a profound problem with this explanation. The depth at which some of these structures are found 50, 70, even 80 feet below the current waterline presents a geological enigma. Tiwanaku and Inca settlements were built at or near the lake's shores. For their structures to be at such extreme depths, the lake level would have had to be drastically lower for a prolonged period, or the land itself would have had to subside significantly since their known occupation. Current mainstream geological models do not easily account for such dramatic shifts in recent history. So, if these structures aren't from the Tiwanaku or Inca periods, what are they? Alternative theories propose a far more ancient origin. Some researchers believe these are remnants of a civilization that thrived when Lake Titicaca's waters were at a much lower level, potentially thousands upon thousands of years ago. Could these be the foundations of settlements from a time before the last ice age even fully retreated? These enigmatic remains, silent witnesses beneath the waves, invite us to reconsider the established timeline of human habitation in the Andes. Moving beyond vague outlines, the precise nature of some of these underwater constructions is equally baffling. Observers describe massive, precision-cut blocks of stone, weighing many tons, meticulously fitted together. We see what appears to be intricate joinery, with stones shaped to interlock perfectly, a hallmark of the most sophisticated megalithic architecture found across the globe. Some blocks display incredibly smooth, almost polished surfaces, and sharp, straight edges that seem impossible to achieve with the primitive tools commonly attributed to ancient Andean peoples. Mainstream archaeology typically attributes these advanced stoneworking techniques, particularly the dry-fit, interlocking masonry, to later Andean cultures like the Tiwanaku and the Inca. Sites like Sacsayhuaman or Tiwanaku itself showcase astounding examples of megalithic construction, believed to have been achieved through immense collective labor, stone tools, and ingenious methods of leverage and ramps. But the difficulties begin when we compare the alleged underwater findings with these known surface sites. The scale and consistent precision reported for some submerged blocks seem to exceed even the most impressive feats of the Tiwanaku. Furthermore, the environment of deep-water excavation and construction would pose monumental challenges that make the conventional explanations of ramps and sheer manpower even less plausible. The sheer weight of these submerged stones and the apparent exactitude of their fit raises questions about the methods employed. Could it be that these structures represent a distinct and possibly even more advanced architectural tradition? Some theories suggest a lost understanding of materials, perhaps even a forgotten technology capable of softening stone or using acoustic vibrations to manipulate massive blocks. The idea of a precursor civilization, possessing tools and knowledge far beyond what we currently credit early humans with, emerges from these perplexing observations. The perfect angles, the daunting weight, the impossible precision, they challenge our fundamental understanding of how ancient people worked with stone. The geological context of these high-altitude submerged sites adds another layer of profound difficulty, especially when it comes to accurate dating. How do you date a stone wall covered in millennia of sediment, many meters underwater, at an elevation of 12,500 feet? Standard archaeological dating methods, such as radiocarbon dating of organic materials, are scarce in such environments and often only give information about when organic material died asterisk, not necessarily when a structure was built. Official geological studies provide us with models of past climate and lake levels, generally suggesting relatively stable conditions for the last several thousand years, with fluctuations well within ranges that would not submerge entire cities to such depths. These models typically do not incorporate the possibility of advanced human settlement during periods of extreme antiquity, such as the last glacial maximum or the Younger Dryas. But what if the geological record is more complex, or if our interpretation of it is incomplete? Some geologists and independent researchers point to evidence of more dynamic geological processes in the Andes, including periods of rapid uplift or subsidence, or catastrophic floods and sudden changes in lake levels far beyond conventional estimates. They suggest that the very difficulty in dating these sites, combined with the often anomalous nature of the finds, indicates a need for a reevaluation of our understanding of Andean geochronology. Could there have been rapid, dramatic shifts that altered the landscape and water bodies, submerging coastal cities that once flourished at a completely different elevation or shoreline? The challenges in dating these sites themselves become part of the mystery, hinting at a past that defies easy categorization. Amidst these academic debates, controversial findings by researchers operating outside the traditional academic establishment often emerge, bringing both new insights and intense scrutiny. Figures like Arthur Posnansky, an Austrian-Bolivian scholar, dedicated his life to studying the ancient ruins of Tiwanaku, and crucially, hypothesized about a far greater age for the site than mainstream archaeology accepted. His work, while sometimes dismissed for its speculative elements, meticulously documented alignments and astronomical observations that suggested a foundation tens of thousands of years ago, a time when lake levels would have been vastly different. More recent independent underwater explorers and researchers, inspired by Posnansky's legacy and local legends, have continued to investigate Lake Titicaca's depths, returning with sonar images and photographic evidence that challenge conventional thinking. Mainstream academia often views these findings with skepticism, citing a lack of peer-reviewed data, reliance on anecdotal evidence, or interpretations that don't fit established timelines. The scientific community rightfully demands rigorous methodology and verifiable results, but the sheer persistence of these anomalous observations, documented over decades by multiple independent groups, cannot be entirely ignored. When sonar scans reveal grid-like patterns or linear features on the lakebed, patterns inconsistent with natural geological formations, the questions they raise linger. Why are these voices and their compelling visual data so often marginalized? What is it about their claims that pushes so hard against the boundaries of accepted knowledge? Could it be that the scientific resistance isn't just about methodology, but about the profound implications of what these findings suggest? The visual evidence itself, though often debated, is compelling. Imagine high-resolution sonar scans painting detailed pictures of what lies beneath the opaque waters of the Andean lakes. These images, often produced using advanced technology, depict structures with unmistakable geometric regularity. Straight lines, perfect angles, and symmetrical arrangements that defy any natural explanation. Photographers brave the icy depths, capturing glimpses of massive stone blocks, some appearing to be finely dressed, others carved with what some interpret as symbols or decorative motifs. These are not merely submerged rocks. They show signs of intelligent design, of human, or perhaps non-human intention. The mainstream interpretation often attempts to rationalize these visual anomalies as natural geological formations, cleverly disguised by the effects of erosion and sediment, or as pareidolia, the human tendency to see familiar patterns in random data. They might suggest that some features are indeed artificial, but belong to more recent, temporary lakeshore settlements that have since been inundated by minor water level fluctuations. But a closer look at these images reveals details that are difficult to dismiss. We see sharp, unweathered edges on certain blocks, suggesting they haven't been submerged for an incredibly long time, or that the material is exceptionally durable. We observe repetitive patterns, courses of stone laid one upon another, and evidence of a coherent layout that speaks to planning and purpose. If these are natural formations, they are extraordinarily coincidental. If they are recent, their depth below the current waterline remains unexplained by standard geological models. The visual evidence, even in its limited and controversial forms, pushes us to ask, what if we are truly looking at the remains of a sophisticated ancient city, swallowed by the waters? When we place these submerged megalithic constructions side by side with conventionally dated ancient Andean sites, like the well-understood Inca fortresses or even the earlier Tiwanaku ruins, the discrepancies become stark and profound. Inca architecture, while impressive, relies heavily on fitting irregular stones with mortar, or on shaping stones for practical, often defensive, purposes. Tiwanaku demonstrates a higher degree of precision with its massive, intricately carved blocks at sites like Pumapunku, but even these are found at elevations consistent with current lake levels or known ancient shorelines. The mainstream explanation attempts to fit these anomalies into existing narratives, perhaps suggesting that they represent an unknown, incredibly early phase of Tiwanaku culture, or a completely lost, but still relatively recent, pre-Inca group. They might be seen as an evolutionary step towards the precision we see at Tiwanaku, or as a regional variation. But the difference in scale, the reported depths, and the apparent sophistication of the construction for something supposedly so early or unknown creates a significant chasm. The precision and weight of some reported submerged blocks far exceed what we attribute to the tools and capabilities of known Andean cultures. There is a sense of an entirely different order of engineering, a forgotten technology, or a level of societal organization that seems out of place with our understanding of early human development in the region. The very materials sometimes appear to be different or processed in a way that is unique. What if these structures are not a precursor to Tiwanaku, but rather Tiwanaku itself is a descendant, or perhaps even a reoccupation of a much older, more technologically advanced site? These perplexing observations naturally lead to a range of initial theories regarding the purpose and origin of these impossible structures. If they are indeed artificial, and if they predate the Ice Age, what kind of civilization built them? Some theories propose that these submerged ruins were once part of a sprawling metropolis, a capital city, or a significant ceremonial center for a highly advanced society. The precise stonework and the monumental scale hint at a culture with sophisticated engineering knowledge, a complex social structure, and a deep understanding of astronomy or sacred geometry. Conventional archaeology, constrained by established timelines, can only offer limited explanations. Perhaps they were simple fishing villages submerged by natural processes, or early agricultural settlements that adapted to fluctuating lake levels. Such explanations, however, rarely account for the megalithic scale and precision reported. But what if we allow ourselves to explore the more speculative ideas? Could these structures have served as observatories, aligned to celestial events visible only thousands of years ago? Were they fortified defenses against an unknown threat? Or perhaps they were part of a vast hydroengineering project, designed to manage the silent stones beneath the waves of the Andes continue to pose an unanswered question. If a civilization thousands of years ago possessed the capability to quarry, transport, and position such immense and perfectly cut blocks, what other secrets of their existence remain locked away beneath the cold, dark waters? What kind of society could create such enduring monuments, only for them to be forgotten by history? We've examined the incredible stone giants hidden beneath the waves, their precision and scale whispering of a knowledge we struggle to comprehend. But to truly grasp the impossible age these anomalies suggest, we must journey further back in time. Not just decades or centuries, but millennia. Back to a world utterly alien, shaped by immense ice and forgotten waters. Imagine the Andean Plateau, the Altiplano, during the last glacial maximum, the Ice Age, some 20,000 years ago. This wasn't the landscape we recognize today. Glaciers, vast and unforgiving, carved colossal valleys and sculpted mountainsides. Temperatures plummeted, creating an environment that seems incredibly harsh, far removed from the conditions we associate with the development of complex societies. Yet within this frigid world lay a geographical feature that challenges our every assumption: the immense ancient lakes of the Altiplano. What we now know as Lake Titicaca was merely a remnant of something far grander. During the Ice Age, the Andean Basin was home to a freshwater sea of truly colossal proportions. Paleo Lake Titicaca, as it's known, stretched for hundreds of kilometers, dwarfing modern Titicaca. Its waters reached depths far exceeding anything seen today, submerging vast tracts of land that are now arid plains. Imagine this immense inland ocean, its shores shifting with the rhythm of glacial melt and freeze, its surface reflecting a sky that watched over a nascent, dynamic world. These ancient lake levels were drastically different, painting a picture of an Andean geography utterly alien to modern maps. The very land beneath these waters has also been in constant flux. The Andes are a region of immense geological dynamism. Over countless millennia, tectonic activity has caused significant uplift and subsidence. Land that was once at one elevation could be pushed higher or sink lower due to the slow, relentless forces of the Earth's crust. These geological forces, combined with the dramatic shifts in water levels, mean that the Andean landscape has been continuously reshaped, a canvas for history constantly being painted over and redrawn. Such a world, dynamic and ever-changing, would seem inhospitable to sustained human habitation, let alone the construction of megalithic structures. Yet, this very dynamism also presented unique opportunities. As glaciers retreated and advanced and lake levels fluctuated, new coastlines emerged, new fertile areas were exposed, and access to resources changed. If a civilization thrived here, its very existence would have been intimately tied to these colossal environmental shifts, adapting to, and perhaps even harnessing, the power of a landscape in constant motion. The implications of such a different climate and geography for human habitation and site preservation are profound. Settlements built on what were once ancient lake shores could now lie miles inland, high and dry. Conversely, and perhaps more intriguingly, entire cities could have been swallowed by the very waters that once sustained them. The conventional narrative of human migration and settlement in South America, accepted by mainstream archaeology, typically places the arrival of sophisticated cultures after the peak of the Ice Age. It suggests that complex societies, capable of monumental construction, only emerged in more temperate climates, long after the great glaciers had retreated and lake levels stabilized. The idea of advanced human populations thriving in the harsh, dynamic environment of the Ice Age Andes is largely dismissed, seen as simply impossible given our current understanding of early human technology and societal organization. This climate data, charting a radically different Andean past, challenges these conventional timelines, creating a deep chronological chasm. But this prevailing view carries a significant blind spot. While geologists meticulously reconstruct these ancient shorelines and analyze climate data, and while anthropologists meticulously trace migration paths across continents, there's often a reluctance to truly connect these two fields in a radical way. Official geology, when mapping the staggering extent of these ancient megalakes and charting the tectonic movements of the Andean Plateau, seldom pauses to consider what human activity might have been present on their forgotten shores, or within their changing depths. It's as if the very possibility of a sophisticated, pre-Ice Age human presence is implicitly excluded from the very start, without full consideration of the geological and climatic evidence itself. The official narrative, focused on the absence of known human activity, often ignores the potential for human habitation during these ancient periods, because no known evidence exists in conventional archaeological frameworks. It's a circular argument that prevents exploration of the very mysteries we are uncovering. What if these colossal shifts in water levels and land elevation weren't just environmental phenomena, but also powerful agents of preservation and concealment? Consider how fluctuating water levels could have submerged or revealed ancient sites repeatedly. An ancient city, meticulously constructed on the shores of Lake Titicaca, could have been inundated as the ice melted and water levels rose. This would have preserved its structures, sealing them away from the destructive forces of wind and weather, beneath a tranquil aquatic blanket. Later, as the climate shifted again, and lake levels receded, parts of that city might have been revealed, only to be resubmerged during another cycle of climatic change, or as the land itself subsided due to seismic activity. Some researchers, looking at the anomalies beneath the modern waters, suggest that the structures glimpsed in Lake Titicaca could have been built on dry land, on the shores of an ancient, much smaller lake, during a different climatic epoch. These sites might then have been progressively submerged over millennia, a slow, relentless swallowing by the rising waters of a changing world, or by the slow, imperceptible sinking of the very ground they stood upon. The dynamic interplay of ice, water, and shifting earth forces us to confront a profound question. If sophisticated civilizations existed in the Andes during or immediately after the Ice Age, what would have happened to their cities? How would their remains be dated? Our current dating methods are often calibrated for stable environments, not for sites subjected to cycles of inundation, erosion, and re-exposure across vast geological timescales. The evidence of an Ice Age Andes, teeming with waters far beyond anything we see today, presents a canvas for a forgotten history. A history where the very ground beneath our feet and the immense volume of water above it acted as both a destroyer and a meticulous keeper of secrets. Could the sunken city, hinted at by the megalithic anomalies we discussed earlier, be a testament to human ingenuity that thrived in a world frozen in time, only to be swallowed by its changing face? What unknown chapters of human resilience and architectural prowess lie buried within these ancient sediments, waiting for us to truly understand the world that was? The waters may have risen and fallen, but the structures themselves tell another, even more astonishing story, one of impossible skill. In the highlands of the Andes, where the air is thin and the sun sharp, stand the silent ruins of Pumapunku. It is a place that defies understanding, a testament to architects and engineers whose methods remain a profound mystery. Here, among the scattered remnants of a truly ancient city, we find stone blocks of such incredible precision, such intricate design, that they seem to whisper of technologies far beyond what we imagine possible for ancient civilizations. Consider the famous H-blocks of Pumapunku. These are not just rough-hewn stones, they are components of a colossal, three-dimensional puzzle. Each block is cut with sharp, clean edges, perfectly flat surfaces, and internal angles that are precise to within fractions of a millimeter. Many weigh tens, even hundreds of tons. They fit together like the pieces of a giant, ancient machine without the need for mortar. Mainstream archaeology often suggests these were crafted using simple stone tools, perhaps bronze chisels, and endless hours of manual labor, shaped by the sheer determination of thousands of workers. They propose that abrasive sands, combined with patience, slowly ground down the hard andesite and diorite. But there is a stark problem with this explanation. Modern experiments attempting to replicate even a fraction of this precision, using only the tools believed available to ancient Andean peoples, have met with dismal failure. The hardness of the stone itself, andesite being nearly as hard as steel, makes the idea of shaping it with simple bronze or even copper tools incredibly difficult, if not outright impossible, to achieve such exacting angles and smooth finishes. How could they create perfectly uniform grooves, right-angle cuts, and polished surfaces that reflect like mirrors, without the benefit of the power tools we rely on today? Some researchers believe that these structures are evidence of a lost ancient technology, a secret knowledge suppressed or forgotten through the millennia. Could it be that these builders possessed advanced methods for working stone, perhaps involving specialized tools made of unknown alloys, far tougher than any bronze? There are theories of sonic vibration, where high-frequency sounds were used to loosen the molecular bonds of the rock, allowing it to be cut and shaped with surprising ease. Imagine a tool that could vibrate stone into submission, leaving behind only the smoothest, cleanest edges. Others speculate about a form of chemical stone softening, a secret concoction that could temporarily alter the rock's composition, making it pliable enough to carve, before hardening again to its natural, formidable state. The surfaces of these stones are equally baffling. Many bear a finish so smooth, so flawless, that it seems to defy manual abrasion. Some even show signs of what appear to be drill holes with perfect cylindrical symmetry and incredible depth, far beyond what any hand-cranked drill could achieve. If they were not using simple abrasives, what then? Could they have employed a technique akin to ancient plasma cutting, using intense heat or focused energy to melt and smooth the stone? This seems like a fantastical notion, yet the evidence on the stone itself demands extraordinary answers. We are left to wonder, what kind of advanced metallurgy or stone-cutting methods, unrecognized by our current understanding of history, were at play here? Beyond the precision of the cuts lies the monumental task of moving and positioning these immense blocks. Some stones at Pumapunku and other sites weigh up to 130 tons. The nearest quarry for the red sandstone is kilometers away, and for the andesite it's even further, across difficult terrain. Mainstream explanations typically involve vast numbers of laborers, ropes, wooden rollers, and complex systems of ramps. They paint a picture of relentless human effort, slowly inching these behemoths into place. But the sheer scale of the engineering required for such an operation in a high-altitude environment presents insurmountable challenges. Constructing ramps capable of supporting and maneuvering a 130-ton block would be an engineering feat in itself, often requiring more material than the building itself. The logistics of feeding, housing, and organizing thousands of workers for such a project, with limited resources, seem almost beyond comprehension. Furthermore, the delicate placement of these precisely cut blocks, fitting them into intricate interlocking systems, would be nearly impossible with only brute force and ropes. This is where the alternative theories begin to truly stretch our imagination. Some suggest that the ancients had an advanced understanding of leverage and counterweights, perhaps utilizing a system of mechanics lost to time. Others lean into more esoteric possibilities. Could there have been an understanding of acoustic levitation, where specific sound frequencies could neutralize gravity, allowing these massive stones to be gently guided into position? Imagine sound waves strong enough to lift and transport stone as if it were feathers. Ancient texts and legends from various cultures speak of such powers, of priests or wise men who could move mountains with their voices or sacred instruments. There are also theories that propose an ancient knowledge of physics, perhaps even anti-gravity technology, allowing these civilizations to manipulate gravitational fields on a localized scale. This sounds like pure science fiction, yet the physical evidence, stones of impossible weight, moved impossible distances, placed with impossible precision, demands a re-evaluation of what we consider fiction. We are left with a lingering question. What unknown force, what forgotten science, enabled these ancient architects to conquer the fundamental laws of physics and scale? The architectural planning behind these structures also hints at a sophistication far beyond conventional understanding. The way these megalithic foundations interlock, often with irregular, puzzle piece shapes, is not merely decorative. This specific type of construction provides remarkable seismic resistance. In a region prone to earthquakes, these builders designed structures that could flex and absorb the tremors, preventing collapse. Our modern engineers use similar principles for earthquake-proof buildings today, but with the benefit of advanced materials and computational modeling. Mainstream history credits this to intuitive trial and error over centuries. But the consistent application of these advanced seismic design principles across multiple sites suggests something more than mere intuition. It implies a deliberate, sophisticated understanding of structural mechanics and geology. It suggests that these societies possessed architects and engineers who understood their environment intimately, who could predict seismic activity, and who built for resilience against cataclysm. Could it be that these ancient peoples possessed not just practical knowledge, but a scientific understanding of their volatile environment, allowing them to engineer for long-term survival in a way we are only now beginning to rediscover? The precision extends even to the subtle angles of the blocks, some of which appear to be designed for drainage, others for specific astronomical alignments. This demonstrates an incredibly sophisticated understanding of not only construction materials, but also fluid dynamics and environmental factors. They weren't just building, they were engineering for specific conditions, for longevity, and perhaps even for purposes we no longer comprehend. This deeper level of foresight challenges our linear view of history, where technological progress is a steady, upward climb. What if, instead, there have been cycles of advancement and decline? What if these builders possessed a holistic understanding of their world, integrating material science, physics, and environmental awareness into a comprehensive architectural philosophy? The very stones speak of a knowledge that embraced their high-altitude environment, the geological forces beneath their feet, and the properties of the very earth they shaped. The questions pile up, each one heavier than the last, as we gaze upon these enigmatic ruins. Did they possess advanced knowledge of metallurgy, capable of forging tools that could slice through hard stone with ease? Were their construction methods rooted in a lost science of sound or energy, allowing them to defy gravity? Was their architectural planning an intuitive genius, or the application of complex algorithms and models passed down through generations? The evidence at sites like Pumapunku forces us to reconsider the very definition of primitive and advanced. It suggests that societies existing long before our established timelines possessed a mastery over materials and forces that we are only now beginning to grasp with our own modern science. The sheer scale and precision demand answers that simple explanations fail to provide. We stand at the precipice of a profound realization. These structures are not just monuments. They are puzzles carved in stone, challenging us to unlock the secrets of their creation. If the peoples of an ancient, pre-Ice Age Andean civilization had the capability to quarry, transport, and position colossal stones with such astonishing precision and forethought, if they understood seismic forces and material properties at a level we attribute to modern engineering, what else were they capable of? What other secrets of their advanced understanding lie buried, waiting to be rediscovered in the depths of history? The tools and technologies they commanded remain one of history's most compelling and elusive enigmas. We have journeyed through an age of impossible architects, marveling at the colossal stones and precision engineering that defy our understanding of ancient capabilities. But if such an advanced civilization once thrived, leaving behind the submerged remnants we've explored, how could it simply vanish? What force could wipe such a sophisticated society from the face of the earth, leaving only whispers in the depths? The common view of history often describes civilizations fading slowly, perhaps through climate change, resource depletion, or conquest. We imagine a gradual decline, a slow unraveling over centuries. But there's a profound problem with this explanation when we consider the evidence. The vast, organized structures beneath the Andean lakes, the sheer scale of the ruins, suggest not a slow decay, but a sudden, violent end. They hint at a cataclysm, a monumental event that submerged cities and reshaped landscapes almost overnight. Some researchers believe we are looking at the aftermath of a planetary reset event, a trauma so immense it wiped the slate clean. What kind of power could enact such a profound change? Could a single, global catastrophe have been the architect of such widespread destruction, erasing not just cities, but the very memory of a sophisticated ancient world? One of the most compelling theories centers around a period known as the Younger Dryas. Around 12,800 years ago, our planet experienced a dramatic and sudden cooling, plunging much of the northern hemisphere back into an ice age state. It was a profound and rapid shift, lasting over 1,000 years, and its cause has long puzzled scientists. Mainstream geology has traditionally explained the Younger Dryas as a consequence of glacial meltwater disrupting ocean currents, specifically the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. The influx of cold freshwater, it was thought, could have slowed the warm currents, leading to a rapid temperature drop. But recent discoveries present a startling but, to this, gentle explanation. A growing body of evidence, found across multiple continents, points to something far more violent and dramatic. This is the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. It proposes that Earth was struck by fragments of a massive comet or asteroid around 12,800 years ago. Geologists and planetary scientists have identified a distinctive layer in the geological record, rich in platinum. If the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis is correct, and Earth truly endured such a cosmic hammer blow, could it have been the very force that triggered the massive floods and geological upheavals that ultimately swallowed a pre-ice age civilization in the Andes? Beyond global theories, the Andes region itself holds its own geological mysteries, hinting at rapid and colossal changes. Evidence of ancient, gigantic floods, far exceeding anything known in recorded history, can be found etched into the landscape. Geologists have identified features consistent with immense torrents of water, carving out valleys and transporting vast amounts of sediment. There are also clear signs of significant seismic activity and uplift over millennia, but some features seem to indicate more sudden, dramatic shifts. The mainstream geological understanding of the Andes, while acknowledging its active tectonic nature, typically describes these processes as gradual. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and uplift are expected to occur over vast timescales, slowly shaping the mountains and valleys. But some researchers, examining the local geology with a different lens, point to baffling anomalies. They argue that certain formations, particularly around the high-altitude lakes, show signs of ancient megatsunamis or massive landslides that defy a gradual explanation. The idea of enormous Paleolake tsunamis, perhaps triggered by localized seismic events or even impacts, has been put forward to explain how a city could be suddenly inundated and buried by water and sediment. The sheer scale of some geological scars appears to point to events far more violent than typical seismic activity. Could massive, localized earthquakes, perhaps a cascade of them, combined with volcanic eruptions that triggered mudslides and flash floods, have contributed to the sudden subsidence of land or colossal waves within the ancient, expanded lake systems we've discussed? What kind of immense and abrupt force would be required to cause such a dramatic and rapid reshaping of this rugged, high-altitude landscape, capable of submerging an entire urban center? It is here, in the face of such profound potential destruction, that we find surprising parallels in the collective memory of humanity. Across almost every culture on Earth, from the isolated tribes of the Amazon to the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, we find remarkably similar stories. Myths of a great deluge, a global flood that wiped out humanity and reset civilization. In the Andes, too, indigenous traditions speak of immense floods and a new beginning. Many academics have traditionally viewed these global flood myths as localized events, often conflating them with specific river floods or seeing them as mere allegories, moral tales designed to teach lessons. The idea of a truly global flood is often dismissed as scientifically impossible in a literal sense. But the sheer number and consistency of these universal flood myths, especially their shared motifs of divine wrath, humanity's near extinction, and a new beginning, are too profound to simply be dismissed. They describe not just water, but often cosmic disturbances, the falling of stars, and the wiping away of an older, perhaps more advanced age. Could this widespread tradition, found in cultures that had no contact with each other, be more than just folklore? Alternative theories propose that these myths are, in fact, fragmented memories of a genuine, global cataclysm, perhaps the very Younger Dryas event itself. Did the few survivors of such a planet-altering disaster carry these stories with them as they dispersed across the globe, preserving a terrifying echo of what was lost. The memory of such a devastating, reset event would undoubtedly be seared into the collective consciousness, passed down through generations, transforming into the powerful narratives we know today. If these universal flood narratives are not merely allegorical tales, but symbolic historical records of a real event, what does that imply about the world that existed before the waters rose, before the memory of a sophisticated civilization was largely erased? And then, some theories push the boundaries of our understanding even further, suggesting that the cataclysm might have involved shifts on a planetary scale that are truly mind-boggling. They speak of a pole shift, where the Earth's entire crust might have suddenly shifted relative to its rotational axis. Mainstream geology acknowledges a phenomenon called true polar wander, where the Earth's rotation axis drifts over vast geological timescales, moving continents slowly. However, it's typically understood as a slow, gradual process, not a sudden, rapid event capable of causing immediate global floods and climatic changes. But a rapid pole shift, proposed by thinkers like Charles Hapgood in the mid-20th century, presents a compelling, but, to the gradualist view. Hapgood, whose work was even supported by Albert Einstein, suggested that a sudden displacement of the Earth's crust, perhaps triggered by an external cosmic impact or an internal planetary imbalance, could occur. Such an event would instantaneously relocate landmasses to different latitudes, plunging temperate zones into Arctic conditions and submerging coastlines and entire regions beneath newly formed oceans. The forces involved would be unimaginable, causing unprecedented tectonic stress, massive earthquakes, and colossal tsunamis across the entire globe. This extreme theory suggests a cosmic event far beyond just a meteor impact. It implies a planetary reset so thorough that the entire geography of the Earth could have been drastically altered in a single, terrifying epoch. The implications for any civilization caught in such a shift are profound. An instant end, a complete geological upheaval, and the physical wiping away of virtually all traces of their existence. Could such an unimaginable, planet-altering event be the true architect of the reset that not only swallowed a sophisticated civilization in the Andes, but fundamentally reshaped our world, leaving only shattered remnants and the faintest echoes in our deepest myths? The idea that our entire historical timeline could be truncated by a catastrophic event, one that truly erased knowledge and memory, forces us to question everything we thought we knew about the endurance of human civilization. The past in this light becomes a fragile tapestry, easily unraveled by forces beyond our comprehension. The cataclysm we discussed, the reset event that may have swept across the planet, erasing advanced knowledge, did not, it seems, erase all memory. Deep within the human psyche, etched into the very fabric of indigenous cultures, are whispers of a time before. As the waters rose or the earth shuddered, the survivors carried with them fragments of a grander past. These fragments were not preserved in stone or scroll, but in the most enduring vessel of all, the story. In the highlands of the Andes, where the air is thin and the ancient mountains touch the sky, lies a rich tapestry of indigenous myths and oral traditions. These are not just simple fables for children. They are profound narratives, passed down through countless generations, speaking of creation, destruction, and the very origins of humanity. Among the most prominent are the tales of Viracocha, the creator god, said to have emerged from the sacred waters of Lake Titicaca itself. He is often depicted as a bearded figure, a civilizer, who shaped the world and brought order to chaos, creating both the sun and the moon. He is said to have made the first humans from stone, before a great deluge wiped out an earlier, imperfect race. These stories speak clearly of a previous age, brought to an end by a terrifying flood before the present epoch began. Mainstream historical thought often interprets these myths as allegories. Viracocha, for example, is seen as a sun god, a culture hero, or even a symbolic representation of the rise of the Inca Empire, lending a divine origin to their rule. The powerful flood narratives are often explained as memories of localized, historical inundations, perhaps the flooding of specific valleys, magnified and mythologized over centuries. Scholars typically view these tales as rich cultural expression, offering insights into belief systems and social structures, but not as literal historical records of global-scale events or previous civilizations. But there is a profound problem with this interpretation, when viewed through the lens of the physical evidence we have explored. The persistence of these highly detailed narratives, the specific descriptions of a god rising from the very lake where tantalizing ancient structures lie submerged, and the clear distinction between distinct epochs separated by immense watery destruction, feels too precise, too consistent to be mere coincidence. The myths don't just speak of **a** flood. They speak of **the** flood, a world-ending event that fundamentally reshaped the planet and humanity's place within it. They differentiate an old world from a new one. What if these ancient tales are not merely fables, but deeply encoded echoes of a real, forgotten past? Some adventurous researchers propose that these stories are a collective memory, passed down not for hundreds, but for thousands of years. A memory of a real, global cataclysm, perhaps the Younger Dryas event that we touched upon, which brought an abrupt end to an ice age world and caused devastating floods worldwide. Could Viracocha, the god-builder who shaped stones and brought knowledge, be a memory of those who survived this immense global disaster? His association with monumental stonework and the bringing of civilization resonates powerfully with the precision-cut megaliths found across the Andes, sites whose origins remain deeply mysterious. He is not just creating life, but recreating it after an end. If Viracocha truly represents the memory of a technologically advanced survivor, or a group of survivors, guiding humanity through the harsh dawn of a post-cataclysmic world, what profound implications does that hold for the true age and origins of Andean civilization, and indeed for all of human history? Beyond specific figures, Andean cosmology offers an even grander vision of time, speaking of vast cycles known as ****. These are not linear timelines, but cosmic ages, each destined to end in a cataclysm before a new age can begin. The current age, the one in which we live, is understood to be but one in a long series, a cycle among many. These cycles are fundamental to the Andean understanding of the universe. Conventional anthropology often interprets these Pachacuti cycles as philosophical frameworks. They are seen as reflections of the Andean understanding of renewal, destruction, and balance, tied perhaps to their agricultural seasons or social structures. They are viewed as symbolic ways for ancient peoples to comprehend change and the passage of time, rather than literal accounts of previous, distinct human epochs that physically existed. They offer a spiritual or ethical lesson, rather than a historical one. But the myths themselves clearly distinguish between different sons or ages of humanity. Each age, they say, had unique characteristics, and each was brought to an end by a devastating event, often by water or fire or earth-shattering quakes. These are not merely abstract philosophical ideas. They describe distinct phases of creation and destruction, with humanity itself being reborn or reshaped after each cataclysm. They speak of distinct populations, distinct ways of life, and distinct endings. What if these Pachacuti cycles are not simply philosophical constructs, but incredibly ancient, encoded memories of a deep historical past? Some researchers speculate that these cycles could represent a series of actual civilizations rising and falling, separated by immense geological or climatic upheavals. The Age of Water, for instance, or the Age of Darkness, could directly reference periods before or during the submergence of ancient cities, or the vast environmental shifts that accompanied the Ice Age and its dramatic end. These cycles could represent the historical memory of several reset events, where advanced societies were lost, and survivors, carrying fragments of their knowledge, had to begin anew, guiding a nascent humanity. Could the Andean concept of Pachacuti therefore be a precise, if poetic, historical record of multiple advanced civilizations, each swallowed by a cataclysm? A recurring motif in many Andean traditions is that figures like Viracocha or other culture heroes are not indigenous to the immediate lands. They arrive, often from across the water, or from a period immediately following a great deluge. They are consistently portrayed as civilizers, bringing crucial knowledge of agriculture, astronomy, law, and most importantly, monumental building techniques. These god-builders are portrayed as external forces, bringing light and order to a struggling post-cataclysmic world. Conventional explanations typically interpret these arrival myths as allegories for cultural exchange or early human migrations. The legendary emergence of Manco Capac from Lake Titicaca, for example, is frequently seen as a mythical origin for the Inca dynasty, designed to legitimize their claim to power by giving them divine or semi-divine roots. The gods themselves are often seen as human leaders or prophets, whose stories became mythologized and embellished over time. But the recurring motif is remarkably specific. These figures are not just from a distant land. They are explicitly said to arrive from or after asterisk water, bringing with them very specific, advanced skills. This challenges the idea of purely local, independent cultural development emerging organically from a blank slate. How could relatively primitive peoples remember precise building techniques being taught by figures from the sea if not based on some real, external influence, or the guidance of survivors from a more advanced culture? The knowledge they brought was always superior to what existed locally. Could these legends truly be echoes of actual survivors from an earlier, technologically advanced civilization? Perhaps those who escaped the cataclysm, journeying to new lands, or emerging from hidden refuges, bringing fragments of their forgotten knowledge to help struggling post-cataclysmic humanity. These god-builders might have been the last inheritors of the engineering brilliance of the impossible architects, whose structures we investigated in Act 4. Their methods, so far beyond the comprehension of nascent societies, would have been perceived as divine magic. Their arrival from the water could literally signify their emergence from a flooded world, or from islands that became submerged, leaving them to seek higher ground. If these god-builders were real, transmitting ancient knowledge across a world recovering from catastrophe, what other lost sciences, what other profound histories might they have carried? What secrets could still be hidden in the depths of our planet, and within the depths of our myths? Across the Andes, a vast and intricate tapestry of myths and oral traditions exists, incredibly detailed and remarkably consistent over immense geographical and temporal spans. They speak of celestial events, world-shaking disasters, and the rise and fall of great peoples long before anything we recognize as recorded history. These stories often feel too grand, too universal in their themes, to be merely localized folklore. Mainstream academia traditionally views myths primarily as symbolic narratives. They are studied for their cultural significance, their insights into belief systems, social structures, and moral lessons. While acknowledging that myths may contain kernels of truth about local historical events, they are generally not considered reliable historical accounts of global-scale ancient civilizations or cataclysms. They are seen as products of the human imagination, not as factual chronicles. But the striking parallels, not just within the Andes but across continents and cultures, between flood myths, stories of sky gods, and tales of lost golden ages, suggest something far more profound than mere coincidence or independent invention. The consistency in describing widespread destruction and the subsequent re-establishment of civilization points towards a shared, traumatic memory. rather than independently invented fables. The human mind is incredibly powerful in preserving core truths, even if the specific details become embellished, stylized, or transformed into symbolic imagery over the passing of millennia. Some radical researchers propose that myths are, in fact, historical records in symbolic form. They argue that when a literate civilization collapses, leaving survivors without the means to write or record history scientifically, crucial information about past events or advanced technologies would be preserved through oral traditions. This knowledge, too powerful to be forgotten, would be passed down as stories, legends, and sacred narratives. Over time, these narratives might become allegorical, incorporating elements of folklore and religious belief, but their core message, the memory of a sophisticated ancient world and its demise, remains. The very impossibility of the details in these myths, such as stone giants or world-ending floods, might be precisely why they have endured. They describe something so profound, so devastating, that it simply could not be forgotten by humanity. If we truly begin to interpret these ancient myths, not as simple stories, but as cryptic historical documents, what profound and unsettling truths about humanity's hidden past might they finally reveal? What lost chapters of our own story lie veiled beneath the veil of folklore? The Andean stories of lost lands, of great floods, and of god-builders emerging from the deep are not isolated occurrences in the world. They resonate profoundly with strikingly similar myths found in cultures across the entire globe. From Plato's detailed account of Atlantis to the pervasive biblical flood narrative, from the submerged continent of Lemuria in Pacific legends to the lost continent of Mu, the parallels are often uncanny. Mainstream scholarship typically attributes these global commonalities to independent invention, to universal psychological archetypes, or to parallel cultural development. While acknowledging that similar human experiences, such as local floods, are common across different regions, mainstream history generally resists the idea of a single, unifying historical event, or a globally interconnected ancient civilization that could explain such widespread thematic consistency. They view global myths as a testament to the universality of the human condition, not to a shared history. Yet, the sheer number of similar motifs is astounding, and they go beyond mere coincidence. It's not just the presence of floods, but often specific details. The destruction of a highly advanced civilization by water, the survival of a select few who become the progenitors of a new humanity or the bearers of ancient knowledge, and the widespread memory of an earlier, more perfect golden age that was lost. This suggests something far more significant than independently invented fables. It points towards a shared, collective memory of a world-altering event that predates our current historical paradigm by thousands of years. Could these widespread myths truly be fragmented echoes of a real global cataclysm? A planetary disaster, perhaps the Younger Dryas impact theory that we examined, which caused widespread flooding, seismic upheavals, and dramatic climate shifts, potentially wiping out a global civilization. The survivors of this catastrophe, scattered across the continents, carried these traumatic memories with them, embedding them into their foundational myths and oral traditions. The lost lands like Atlantis or Mu might be symbolic representations of real continental shelves or vast landmasses that were indeed submerged by rapidly rising sea levels or tectonic events, as we explored in Act 3. These myths could be fragments of a collective human memory of a truly ancient, interconnected world, one that once existed, before it was swallowed by the waves and forgotten by conventional history. If cultures separated by oceans and millennia all tell strikingly similar tales of a lost golden age swallowed by water, are we merely looking at folklore? Or are we, in fact, witnessing the collective, enduring memory of a sophisticated global civilization, utterly lost to a world-altering catastrophe? its only remaining testament woven into the sacred stories of humanity. The answer could redefine everything we believe about our past. The echoes of ancient myths, rich with tales of cataclysm and creation, have lingered through the generations, their symbolic language hinting at a world now lost beneath the waves. But beyond the realm of legend, a compelling, though often ignored, body of evidence slowly comes into focus, demanding our attention. It speaks of a sophisticated civilization, hidden for millennia, now surfacing from the depths of time and water. We've seen the impossible stone structures, the geological clues of ancient lake levels, the advanced engineering that confounds modern understanding, and the stark evidence of a global cataclysm that reshaped the world. This cumulative picture, meticulously pieced together from anomalies scattered across the high Andes, presents a profound and unsettling challenge to our accepted understanding of human origins. If these submerged cities, with their unmistakable signs of design and immense labor, are indeed older than the last ice age, then everything we believe about early human development, migration patterns, and technological capabilities must be radically reevaluated. Such a discovery would not merely add a fascinating, albeit peripheral, chapter to history. It would necessitate the complete rewriting of the foundational narratives that underpin our entire understanding of the human story. It suggests that complex societies, endowed with advanced knowledge and profound engineering skills, may have thrived far earlier than current timelines permit, perhaps even possessing insights and techniques that in some ways parallel or even surpass aspects of our own modern understanding. The implications of such a revelation would ripple across the entire tapestry of human history and knowledge. For centuries, our historical models have painted a largely linear progression, from simple hunter-gatherers, slowly evolving into early agriculturalists, then incrementally developing into the first complex city-states in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. This established narrative places the definitive emergence of advanced technology, monumental architecture, intricate social structures, and precise astronomical knowledge firmly within the relatively recent post-Ice Age period, typically within the last 6,000 to 10,000 years. We are taught that the mastery of large-scale construction, sophisticated urban planning, and a deep understanding of natural laws are hallmarks of civilizations that arose only in this modern era of humanity. But the extensive evidence we have painstakingly examined throughout this journey, from the impossible precision of stone-cut blocks resting beneath ancient lake beds, to the compelling paleoclimatic data hinting at dramatically different high-altitude shorelines, profoundly defies this neat, comfortable progression. It proposes, instead, a counter-narrative, that before the recognized cradles of civilization, there existed a world whose ingenuity, scale, and organizational prowess might have been just as breathtaking. How could such a civilization exist, thrive for perhaps thousands of years, and then vanish so completely without leaving an indelible mark on our historical records? The mainstream perspective, rooted deeply in conventional archaeological dating methods, established cultural timelines, and rigid academic frameworks, finds itself at a difficult and increasingly untenable crossroads when faced with such persistent anomalies. This established academic paradigm, with its carefully constructed timelines, peer-reviewed theories, and educational curricula, often views such discoveries as isolated outliers, inconvenient anomalies to be explained away or categorized as misinterpretations, rather than embraced as potential cornerstones of a dramatically new history. The very concept of a sophisticated pre-Ice Age civilization in the Americas, particularly one capable of megalithic construction and complex social organization, directly contradicts many decades of dedicated research, countless published textbooks, and the foundational training of virtually every archaeologist and historian. The sheer intellectual and professional weight of rewriting history, challenging established careers, and dismantling deeply ingrained beliefs is immense, often proving to be an almost insurmountable barrier. It demands a profound flexibility of thought, an openness to the truly unexpected, that is frequently difficult to find within institutionalized science, which by its nature values caution and established methodology. The mainstream position, therefore, tends to emphasize rigorous skepticism, often demanding irrefutable proof that aligns perfectly with their current frameworks. Proof that is, by definition, almost impossible to obtain for a submerged, pre-ice age site. They point to the perceived lack of widely accepted carbon-dated organic material directly associated with the deepest submerged structures, or propose that seemingly artificial formations are merely natural geological occurrences misinterpreted by overzealous researchers. Some argue that the engineering feats, while undoubtedly impressive, could still conceivably fall within the capabilities of later, known Andean cultures, or attribute certain technological anomalies to unproven, speculative methods rather than a truly advanced ancient civilization. This cautious approach, while undeniably understandable and indeed necessary in the pursuit of scientific rigor, sometimes inadvertently becomes a significant barrier to exploring possibilities that lie entirely outside the comfort zone of current, accepted understanding, locking away potential truths. But there is a growing problem with this steadfast, almost dogmatic, refusal to seriously consider the full scope and cumulative weight of the evidence. The consistent patterns in the submerged structures we've glimpsed, the recurring themes in ancient myths across continents that speak of deluges and vanished lands, and the persistent presence of engineering that remains profoundly difficult to replicate even with modern technology, all collectively demand a deeper, more comprehensive, and truly collaborative investigation. Dismissing these findings as isolated oddities, purely natural phenomena, or the eccentric interpretations of fringe theorists, becomes increasingly challenging when the sheer volume, consistency, and congruence of the data are considered. The water-worn edges of impossibly heavy stones, the precise angles and interlocking designs that defy simple erosion, and the sheer scale of the undertakings across multiple sites all unequivocally suggest purposeful design, sophisticated planning, and a level of societal organization far beyond what is conventionally attributed to those ancient epochs before the Great Warming. This is precisely why a new approach, an interdisciplinary call to arms, is not merely desired but has become absolutely essential. Imagine geologists, archaeologists, oceanographers, expert engineers, paleoclimatologists, and even folklorists working together, their individual expertise converging, unburdened by the rigid confines and academic silos of their traditional fields. Such a collaborative effort would unleash unprecedented avenues of inquiry. Advanced sonar technology, paired with sophisticated bathymetric mapping, could map the sprawling lakebeds with an unprecedented degree of detail, potentially revealing the full extent of vast, complex submerged cities. Remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, equipped with specialized sensors and cameras, could then meticulously explore these depths, carefully documenting structures that have been shielded from human eyes and historical records for millennia. Geochronologists could apply novel dating techniques, less reliant on perishable organic remains, directly to the stone itself, searching for molecular clocks and geochemical signatures within its very composition. Such open-minded, truly interdisciplinary scientific inquiry would move beyond the conventional boundaries of what is deemed acceptable or possible, allowing for a more holistic and integrated understanding of these mysterious sites. It would embrace the possibility that not all ancient technologies fit neatly into our modern understanding of mechanics, physics, or material science. Researchers could explore the lost knowledge of acoustics, resonance, or unknown methods of material manipulation that our ancient ancestors might have possessed, perhaps even a profound understanding of energy itself. This collaborative spirit, fueled by genuine curiosity and a relentless pursuit of truth rather than academic dogma, holds the indisputable key to unlocking the true, hidden narrative of humanity, which may be deeply embedded beneath the Andean waves. The profound consequence of embracing this broader, more flexible perspective is nothing less than the fundamental reevaluation of what we have long labeled as primitive cultures. What if many of the so-called early or undeveloped societies we observe today, or in recent historical records, are not simply stepping stones on a linear path to modern civilization, but rather the scattered, fragmented remnants of a much older, infinitely more advanced global civilization? This intriguing theory suggests a cyclical view of history, a grand cosmic rhythm where peaks of technological and societal achievement are inevitably followed by devastating cataclysms, be they geological, climatic, or astronomical, leading to a global reset where vast amounts of knowledge are lost and scattered survivors are forced to begin anew, with only fragmented memories, simplified tools, and enduring myths as their inheritance. Consider, for a moment, the intricate astronomical alignments found in megalithic sites globally, or the sophisticated understanding of geometry and sacred numbers encoded in ancient architecture from diverse corners of the world. These profound insights often appear fully formed, seemingly without a long, discernible period of evolutionary development, within cultures that otherwise seem to lack what we consider basic technologies, such as the wheel or advanced metallurgy. Could it be that these sudden flashes of brilliance, these seemingly anachronistic skills, are not indigenous innovations from truly primitive peoples, but rather echoes, faint memories, or inherited fragments of a vastly more sophisticated progenitor civilization? A civilization that perhaps understood the Earth and its intricate energetic systems in ways we are only just beginning to rediscover today. If this idea holds true, then the indigenous peoples of the Andes, with their rich oral traditions, their reverence for Mother Earth, Pachamama, and their deep connection to the past, might not just be preserving quaint folklore. They could, in fact, be the direct inheritors and last vestiges of a truly ancient, global knowledge system. Their seemingly primitive tools, their sustainable agricultural practices, and their spiritual lifestyle could be the adaptive survival strategies of a people whose distant ancestors witnessed the cataclysmic collapse of a golden age, and who then carefully rebuilt their world based on the profound lessons learned from a devastating, world-altering past. This perspective dramatically transforms our understanding of history from a simple, unilinear upward ascent to a complex, dynamic ebb and flow, with periods of high advancement followed by dramatic, knowledge-erasing declines. This radical shift in perspective invites us all to question the convenient narratives we have been given, to look beyond the surface of what is presented as absolute truth. It encourages a profound sense of wonder, urging us to look beyond the established facts and consider the tantalizing what-ifs that lie just beneath the surface of our reality. What if the history we currently hold so dear in our textbooks is only a tiny sliver of the truth? What if the real story of humanity is far grander, far more mysterious, far more interconnected, and profoundly more ancient than we ever dared to imagine? This journey into the depths of the Andes has been a testament to the persistent whispers of a forgotten time, a time when human ingenuity and understanding may have reached heights that still astound and challenge our modern sensibilities. The greatest secrets of humanity's past may not be found solely in dusty academic libraries or within the confines of well-documented, conventionally excavated ruins. They may instead reside precisely in the places we have forgotten to look, the places we have deemed impossible or irrelevant. They may lie hidden beneath the earth, buried by millennia of geological change, volcanic ash, or catastrophic floods. Crucially, they may reside beneath the relentless waves of high-altitude lakes, preserved in the cold, dark embrace of the water, waiting patiently for the right moment, and the right open-minded scientists, researchers, and explorers to rediscover them. The submerged city in the Andes, older than the Ice Age, stands as a silent, powerful sentinel to this profound and lingering mystery. It represents not an end to our historical inquiry, but a thrilling new beginning, a clarion call for a truly comprehensive re-examination of our origins. It is a powerful, undeniable reminder that our understanding of ourselves, our true origins, and our collective potential as a species is far from complete. The past, in all its complexity, grandeur, and terrifying power, is still waiting to be truly reclaimed, inviting us to peer beyond the comfortable veil of accepted history and unlock the lost, magnificent chapters of humanity's extraordinary and enigmatic journey. The most significant answers, perhaps, are not just in what physical evidence we eventually find, but in our collective willingness to bravely and openly look for it.